Pulmonary fibrosis. She had no lung function left when I saw her. She had 1 liter lung capacity. She couldn't breathe. She was a candidate for a lung transplant. She had no other choice. She was treated with antibiotic, bronchodilator, steroid without effect. Then comes along this milk-derived protein that cured her. Sounds like a stunning statement to make, but she was well documented by 2 independent lung disease specialists at McGill in 2 different hospitals. She was given the treatment with this whey protein concentrate called Immunotec. She lung capacity went back to 3 liter, 0.3. She was stopped the treatment. She went back to 1 liter. She was gasping for air 2-3 times to make sure it was not a fluke, it was a real effect of the treatment. Now the second lesson we derive from her is a lesson of humility for the established medicine. Because if steroid, the best of antibiotics, bronchodilator, couldn't do anything for this lady, and here comes this milk-derived protein that actually cured her. It's been now a year since. She's doing very well.
Several years ago, after a complicated illness, my lung doctor diagnosed pulmonary fibrosis, and then my life came to a stop.
In the case of Nina Pertouche, she recognized that despite taking a variety of medications, her condition was not improving. She started taking Immunocal on her own initiative and had a dramatic improvement in her function. When her doctor called me up, he was quite surprised, but when we discussed it, I discussed that there was a very good basis for why it might be improving. Nina then subsequently went off the product and her symptoms came back. It was at that point that Nina got in touch with me, and what I suggested to her that if she was going to go back on the product, that we could study her before and then 1 month after going back on the product. She told me she was going back on the product, and so we organized for her to come in. And what we did is we measured her lung function and we measured her glutathione levels. And then we saw her 1 month later. And with, much to Nina's pleasure and to our own pleasure, Nina had a dramatic improvement in her lung function and a dramatic improvement in her glutathione levels.
This is one case that I've been following very carefully. This is of a woman who had Hodgkin's disease, which is a type of cancer, and she was subjected to a lot of radiotherapy. Subsequently, she developed a lot of scarring in her lungs, something we call pulmonary fibrosis. And this pulmonary fibrosis left her quite breathless. She was someone who was very active. She was a lawyer. She was taking care of her kids, and she found herself stuck at home, essentially on home oxygen. Now, we tried all different kinds of treatment. We tried inhaled steroids, bronchodilators, different kinds of medications, and really she just was not getting any better. One day she showed up to her pulmonary physician saying, look, I can breathe. And not knowing whether this was placebo or not, we did some pulmonary function tests on her, and sure enough, she was back to 95% of normal. We were wondering why, and she told us because 6 weeks previous, she started taking a product called Immunocal.
I was very happy to hear about Immunocal, and it had a great effect on my life. In the summer of 1996, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
When Jim Haig approached me in the fall of 1998, he was concerned because he had been on chemotherapy for widespread or metastatic prostate cancer, and his treatment had caused him to have heart toxicity. And because of that, his treatment had been discontinued, and he would have been classified as a treatment failure. And he was left on a small dose of prednisone only because of associated inflammation of the heart muscle. He came to me hoping that I might be able to suggest some kind of alternative treatment, since at that point in time the oncologist had not been able to offer him anything else. And I said to him, look, I'm going to think about possibly putting you on Immunocal because of what I know about it, and I'm going to discuss it with your urologist. And I did, and the urologist said to me, to my surprise pleasantly, why not? Let's try him on it. And so at that point in time, having had the treatment failure, he started on Immunocal, 1 packet per day, and he had, at that time when he started, a PSA of 208, and after 1 month his PSA dropped down to a level of 28, which in itself was amazing, but it was only 1 month, so we waited until the 2nd month, and at the 2nd month it was 11. And at that point of time we realized that we were having an amazing response. In addition to which, he felt very much better, much improved. His symptoms of fatigue and of having a depressed outlook were alleviated to a great degree. He felt substantially better and was able to take his vacation in Florida, which he usually does in late fall, and to be able to look forward to enjoying it. So in other words, it turned his situation around and enabled him to have a much improved quality of life and to resume his life the way he would have liked to at that point in time.
One of the most dramatic users or changes in a user that I've observed is the change in Mildred Wade, who's a patient of mine for many years, whom I've watched as a diabetic, difficult to control, and I've watched her deteriorate to the point where a little more than a year ago she became confused. We had her on medication for Alzheimer's disease. She was mentally out in left field a good deal of the time. She had lost her personality. She had lost her enthusiasm. She was barely able to walk. She had become incontinent. She really wasn't functioning as a person anymore. But thanks to the care that her sister gave her, and also to the miracle, and I really think of it as a miracle, of Immunocal, Mildred has regained her mental acumen. She can carry on a good conversation. Her sense of humor is better than ever. She, except for the fact that she has some visual problems that are going to be operated upon soon, her circulation in her legs is better. Her diabetes is controlled in a way that we were never able to achieve before. And she is able to ambulate. She's able to control her incontinence problem is gone. She functions. She walks into my office now. I used to make house calls on Mildred because there was no other way to see her. So in every way, I would offer Mildred as a case in point, not by any chance our only case in point, but a very dramatic and wonderful one whose improvement is 95% due to Immunocal because of the dramatic nature of the change that she underwent after she started it.
I gave it to Mildred twice a day, and she drank it faithfully there for about 2 months. And I could just see a drastic change in Mildred after drinking this Immunocal. And I was just so happy about it. Every time I'd come in the office, I'd say, give me another box of that Immunocal that you have. So I would get it and take it home, and we'd have used it faithfully for about a year. And there she is to prove the point.
Since I started taking Immunocal, I noticed a drastic change in my walking, my speech, and my food. I would eat much better. And it just gave me strength and hope all the way around.
Today, she stands on her own 2 feet and acts and talks like my sister used to do, thanks to Immunocal.